Howdy everyone, this is LockNutz, and you're watching a map tour of Neuffener Valley by emproLoop. Hopefully you'll stick around to see what happens. Howdy, 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 how are you guys doing today? Oh my goodness, I tell you what, today we get to go on a map tour of Neuffener Valley by emproLoop. This little bad mamma jamma is 189.16 megabytes to download and is for right now for PC only, so you got that going for you. Now this map here is pretty darn slick. It does have a couple extra mods that you do need to download to play with. The Modern House, the Ground Stains, and Decorative Detail Pack. Add those up, it's a 24.78 megabytes to download. You add that to the 189 and you have 213.94 megabytes to download this one and play on. So that's what you got going on. Now we have gone ahead and started this gameplay off on new farmers mode. That way you guys know what you get if you do start off on new farmers mode. One thing to keep in mind, all the game modes, you start off with all of these houses, all of the equipment. You don't own the land, but you own all of the equipment and all of these buildings in here. You can go ahead and sell them, do whatever you want, you just don't own the land. Your standard starting dollar values for each of the starting gameplays is the same standard, so you have that going for you. But like I said, we did start this off on new farmer mode. Even though we have all this equipment on all the farming modes, let's jump right in and take a look and see what you'd be getting. And here is your equipment. Starting off with small tractors, you have 1 and 2 Fence, gotta love that. You have 1 John Deere medium-sized tractor. Harvesters, you have 1 Fendt harvester, and that does come with a matching grain header, and you can carry that along on your header trailer. Front loaders, you do have 1 Kloss front loader, and that does come with 2 attachments, the pallet fork and the bale spikes. Vehicles wise, you do have yourself 1 Lizard pickup truck, and that you get 1 Carrot Kloss trailer, pretty slick. Grape technology, you have 1 Hardy sprayer, you have 1 Furman trailer, and then you have 1 Providus pruner. Not too shabby. Mulchers, you have the TMC Cancela. Cultivators, you have 1 Lemken cultivator. Subsoilers, you have not 1, but 2 subsoilers. 1 for doing your grapes, the other for just rocking and rolling out in the field. Seeders, you have 1 Nordstein seeder. Animal-wise, you have an Aquatrans Joskins, not too shabby. And then weights, you do have 110 Winkle weights, so you can get yourself rocking and rolling out there. That's the equipment that you'd start off with. Now, after looking at that, let's take a look at this map. And here is your map, and as you can see, you have a handful of fields on this particular map. Some with nice sharp edges, others with a couple wavy edges. Lots of production facilities on here, pretty darn slick. This map does start off with a couple farms that you can choose from. Starting farm, you do start off with the chicken farm is what it's called. You also have right across the road the horse farm. You also have on here the sheep farm, the pig farm, and the cow farm to do whatever you would like to do. Now, there are a couple unique things about this, couple plots of lands on here that you do need to actually purchase to actually have access to the production facilities. Now, I've gone ahead and purchased these, and I cannot sell them because we have placeables on them, but you do have the oil mill, the cereal factory, and the grape processing unit. Those 3 right there, you need to actually purchase the land to be able to get access to them, which by doing so is much, much cheaper because you can see 39,000, 43,000, and 90,000. That's way less than what you would actually go ahead and purchase this stuff for. You don't start with this stuff. I'm just letting you know these are a couple little facilities that are here. But what you do actually start off with is you do start off with this little plot over here for 1.1 million. And that does include this over here. So this is one package deal where you have these plots right here and then those plots as well. That's all you start off with on new farmers mode. Like I said before, you have access to all of this stuff. You have all of your tractors and implements. You have all the buildings, but you don't own the land. So that's one thing I want to make sure you guys are aware of. Field prices here, they're pretty darn high. I'm not going to lie, they're pretty darn high. Starting off at field 26, this is the cheapest field on the map, coming in at $103,000. Now, the most expensive field is field 18, and that comes in at $1.2 million. But I'm saying it like that because this one over here, numbered field-wise, 34, it's kind of a bigger field, but it's not necessarily. Price-wise, it's only $1 million. You do have this chunk of land right over here that has a nice open field and then a good chunk of forest. This is the absolute most expensive plot on the entire map, coming in at 1.7, almost $1.8 million. Very, very expensive. And after that, you can go ahead and see the field prices are, like I said, very, very expensive for everything that's on here. There's just tons and tons and tons of land out here, and it's very, very expensive. You do have some forestry areas along here. The exterior or the bonus areas, the non-used areas, you cannot purchase. So like I said, you can't click on the river and buy the river on this map. But as you can see, you do have a bunch of plots out here that you can go ahead and purchase. The one farm location comes along with field 37. I don't remember. I think that's sheep off the top of my head. You do have this one up here that comes in at $500,000. You do have this one up here that does come with field 8. That is $826,000. So you do have quite the little setup here. And then right across the road here, the horse farm is $464,000. I mean, a lot of numbers I'm throwing around at you because it's big numbers. I want to stress this is a very, very expensive map that is out here. So when it comes to jumping in, you're going to want to do what you can to make as much money as you possibly can because it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Speaking of which, let's take a minute and let's jump on down and take a look at this super expensive land. All right, guys, here is the farmyard that you do end up starting off with right here. As you can see, it's nice and tucked in here. Got all this stuff on here. One thing I want to jump into is there's something very, very neat about this map. Very, very neat. It has paintable fields. You've heard me, paintable fields. You come over here to landscaping, sculpting tools, your normal painting. You have just your normal palette. Trees. Huh, there's no trees. Plants. Huh, what do we got here? This is actually what you can go ahead and use to go ahead and plant. So I'm going to go ahead and go like this. Go like that so that we can go ahead and see this. And I've tested this out. Now, obviously, I've made a mess of the yard here, but I've tested this out on another plot of land. This is ready to go. It needs lime. As you can see, it has not been fertilized. It may need to be weeded depending on where you're at. But this is 100% ready to go. Send a worker out on this. Do what you want to do. This is 100% ready to go. So you have that going for you. Now, taking a look at all this stuff on here, let's hop back up here and take a look at the construction for a second. Because you can actually go ahead and sell the vast majority of this stuff on here. A couple of the decorations you can't get rid of, but you can sell all of the stuff that's on here if you really want to go for it. So keep that in mind. Buildings-wise, you do have modded buildings that are on here. They're, for the most part, from what I can tell, the same in-game ones. They've just been tweaked a little bit. Same thing with your silos, your silo extension, containers, tools. There are no tools, and there is the one farmhouse, but this is the one that you had to download, the extra mod. So you got that. Same thing with production. It's pretty much all the same. I have not dove into it and really looked at it deep. I can assume that the values are a little bit different for what's going on in there. Same thing here. You got these extra selling points. The greenhouses, there's nothing in there. Orchards, generators, nothing in there. Animals, you do have a one extra thing for each one of these animals, custom, modded, whatever it is that you want to use word-wise, except for the bees or the others. So that's pretty much what you're dealing with right there. I want to take a second and jump into that because, like I said, with this map here, everything is here on all game modes. So if you don't want to start with this stuff on this farm, maybe you like this location, but you don't want any of this stuff, you can go ahead and get rid of it, just so that you guys are aware. Now, with that being said, I think it's time we get ourselves out, rocking and rolling, and doing a couple things, like mainly driving around. One thing I'm going to do here really quick, though, is I'm going to put the map up on the corner of the screen. That way you guys can kind of follow along with me as we go on our little whirlwind tour. All right, let's drive across our brand new field that we got on there. Now, price-wise for going ahead and doing stuff with the field, it can get kind of pricey painting the stuff in there. But it's a way to essentially hire a helper without hiring a helper. That's kind of how I look at it. If you want to do some role playing, maybe tweak some stuff around, make fields the way they are. That's kind of the way I look at it. So over here you do have this nice little storage, a nice big silo. I kind of like those double-sided silos right there. Let's head on over here and we'll get right across the road right off the bat to the horse farm. Now, as you can see, there's not much to it right here, but you do end up having this nice sizable area right here to go ahead and store everything, and it does have the the solar panels on top, so you can get yourself a little revenue as it was. Now, coming on over here, it is down the same road. This one right here, though, this hay silo, it is the same thing as everything else. If you have to purchase it to get access to that, or I should say not everything else, but this one you actually have to purchase the land to get yourself out and be able to use the stuff. So keep that in mind. It's not a hard and fast rule, but that's kind of the way it is. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this right off the bat. I do apologize, but one of the things I like to do on my map tours is I like to go ahead and drive on the field so that you guys can kind of get a better lay of the land. Oh my goodness. That there's a ditch there and there's a bump so that you guys can kind of see what's going on and you don't do what I just did and flip yourself, give yourself a concussion, or potentially injure yourself by doing that. Fields over here are not too shabby. You do have some nice little dips, low areas. I want to jump over here into the forest right away because the forest, it does have a mix of small and large trees, and it is pretty darn dense. Virtually every spot on the map where you do see this dark forestry area on the little heads-up display down there, it is a very dense forest, so you will be able to get in, rock and roll, and do a ton of stuff in there. You do have these nice little open fields in here. I don't believe this area you can get because it's right next to the river, but you do have the fields. And as I'm taking a look at this, there is a significant amount of elevation change that some of these fields, like this one over here, depending on how you want to go about handling it, you may have to upsize your equipment. Maybe get a little extra horsepower for what you're doing to get up and down, around, and over the hills, I guess is a good way to say it. Not necessarily to grandmother's house, but you get the idea. Let's continue on over here. Nice little windy road taking the bridge so you can kind of take a peek at this. As you can see, be careful. Be very careful. There are no edges on this bridge. I know myself, if I get going a little fast, I'll probably end up putting myself into the drink, so be careful. Be very, very careful going across that. Other than that, where you run around on the map here, you aren't very many pinch points. So you're not necessarily going to have to worry about trying to get over super narrow bridges or really anything like that. It's just that first initial lump, as you can see. That's where you have to watch out. Just getting onto the bridge, be careful on that. And as we kind of continue on over, there are these purchasable plots of land that are over here. This is, I believe, one of the larger plots, and as you can see, it's got a great view. But it might be kind of a pain in the butt to do the things that you want to do. Definitely you might want to look at upgrading your horsepower, get a little bit beefier tractor, whatever it is. If you're planning on farming on that mound, don't be afraid of it. You can go out there and do it. but you're probably going to need yourself a little goat or something to get up the hill, or at least a little bit more horsepower. The choice is totally up to you what you want to do. But I really do like this. I don't want to go ahead and get too much into it, but I really like the way you have these little bumps and bruises and undulations as you kind of travel across the map. This is going to be one of these reoccurring themes. Biggest thing that I can stress out on this map is definitely check out the land before you go ahead and purchase it. Especially if you have a little bit lower horsepower equipment, lower horsepower tractors. Make sure you get yourself out here and make sure you do what you can to look at the land. You don't want to necessarily buy that massive hill over there or something like this and have something that's too small. It's just going to frustrate you. You can do it if you want to. I'm just giving you a heads up. Watch out. I don't want you to get frustrated over this map. We'll head back on over here, find ourselves the bridge, and get ourselves back onto the other side. Do have some of these windy roads. The nice thing that I have noticed with driving around on here and doing my precursor little walk around, the roads that are really, really windy, there isn't any traffic on, which is a godsend. Not having to deal with that as being an issue. Let's get ourselves back over here and get ourselves rocking along the roads. And then as we're coming up over this way, we're getting to the secondary plot of the starting farm, the chicken farm, if you will. You do have this chunk of land over here, and this is yours. You have your nice little shed over here with all of your equipment, and then you have this huge grape field. Now, the worst part about this, I would say, and I'm not knocking anything, this is just something you're going to have to look into if you do this, you don't have the harvester. That is a downfall, so you're going to actually have to go ahead and purchase the harvester. You have everything else, though. You have the land, you have the grapes, you have the equipment to get up and down here. You just don't have the harvester. Get out, get yourself the harvester if you want to go ahead and do grapes. But this is going to be a nice challenge for you, driving up and down, trying not to hit anything while handling these grapes. It's a very nice little setup right here. And you do also own, I can't get around this way, but you do also own this little wooded plot up here. This is part of that starting map, or the starting farm. So kind of keep that in mind. If you do want to jump out there and do a little bit of farming, you can go ahead and do it. And as you can see, you do have this area over here to expand on your grapes if you do want to expand your grapes. Personally, though, this is just my own personal opinion, I think that's enough grapes to keep yourself busy for quite some time. Let's get ourselves out of here and then go ahead and keep on rocking around the map. We'll probably head up and look at one of the next starting farms. I don't remember if this is the sheep or if it's the pigs. I want to say it's the sheep, though. One thing to keep in mind, kind of like what I'm doing here, I'm driving around on the map, driving across all these open plots like this so you guys can check out the lay of the land. Be very careful. There's a lot of fences over here. Just be very mindful. You do have this nice big plot right here. Oh, let's see. What do we got going on with this one? Back ourselves up. What do we got going on here? We do have the sheep farm. This is the sheep farm. I'm not seeing the pen right here, though. Maybe this one you have to purchase the thing before you go ahead. But let's take this really quick here. I could have swore I seen... Oh, there it is. That's why. All right. Here's the sheep farm right over here. It is the sheep farm, but where the sheep actually are, it's across the road. So you do have this rocking and rolling right on over here. Pretty darn neat. Now, I want to go ahead and hop on here for 1 second and take a look at the purchasable for the animals. Now, as you've seen right here, let's see here. These guys right here, these are the same ones. They have been modded. You are able to go ahead and have way more animals on these. I forgot to mention that before. I do apologize. 100 versus 25, your normal. So if you do want to have more of the animals, these modded ones are very nice for that. I do like that when map makers go ahead and throw that extra little nugget to get yourself in there. Now this I want to hit up really quick here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but this whole section right here, this is all divided up into different plots. And this is a nice little area if you want to get out there make your own fields, start with nothing, get yourself rocking and rolling. One thing that I will mention right off the bat, as you can see, you do have all these weeds over here. This is the area where I actually practiced, or I should say, tried going ahead and making the fields with the paintable area. When you paint this area over here, this is all weeds. This is all weeds, so you're going to have to come through and weed everything. So just kind of be mindful of that. You're going to have to get out there. Way I did it is I had the seeder that's on here, which actually has the power harrow on it. So I was able to go ahead, cultivate, and seed at the same time. It got rid of the weeds, but it said the weeds were there yet. So keep that in mind as you're rocking and rolling. Let's head up this way through this little road, kind of a bumpy little path. And let's turn out here. The reason we're turning out over here is because we do have our next farm right up here. And this is what I was talking about. All of these little fences all over the place. I got myself caught out here before because I wasn't necessarily paying attention. So you do have your pig farm sitting right up over here. You can get yourself rocking and rolling with some pigs if you do so choose. And I can't escape. Okay. I thought I could. But this is another little thing. If you want to get yourself up here and get yourself rocking and rolling, have yourself a nice little fenced-in plot. You already have it all set up, ready to rock, ready to roll. Grape location is up over here to get yourself your grapes. And remember, this is one of those locations where you have to buy the land before you can actually get access to it. Much cheaper to do it that way, but I just want to make sure you guys remember that. All right, and as we kind of head on over to the cow farm, it gives us an opportunity to kind of look back across the map. Good rule of thumb on this map for the most part, towards the center of the map, the land is pretty flat. It's forgiving, very, very forgiving. Towards the outside of the map, that's where you're going to run into some issues with elevation changes, your bumps, your bruises, your nicks, your cuts, your undulations, if you will. Those are the areas where you're really going to have to get out there and take a peek when you're purchasing land. Now, as we kind of come up over here, you will see the cow farm. It is a very, very nice location. Lots of space. This location here has the most amount of buildings compared to the others. The other non-starting farms. So kind of keep that in mind if you like this, if you like that. This one's already pretty much set up and ready to rock with you. Let's continue on around here because you do have this nice little view of the forestry area right next to us. And as you can see, it does have quite a bit of trees in there. We'll quickly dive off into here just to kind of take a peek at it. Be mindful, when you're out here and you're rocking and rolling and you're cutting down your trees, there is some room to get in and out of here, but you're probably going to want to make sure you cut yourself a path just to get in and out safely. You betcha. All right, and as we kind of head back on over to where we got this thing all ready to rock and roll, I just kind of mentioned it to you here. Just, again, be very mindful about taking a peek at the fields before you purchase them. You have this one right here, relatively flat. The one right next to it, not so much. It has some bumps in it. So generally, guys, like I said, just get out there, take a peek at the stuff, and see what everything looks like before you go ahead and purchase it. You may have to upsize your horsepower. You'll probably be fine without, but it may make your life kind of unfortunate. At this point, guys, I think it's time for us to pop up into the sky, fly around, and take a look at this thing from up above. All right, guys, let's go ahead, fly up into the air, and as we come up, you can really start to see all the little bumps that are on this map. You got all sorts of bumps up towards, I mean, in the center of the map. I said it's generally flatter. It is generally flatter in the middle of the map, but it's not a hard and fast rule. Towards the outside, again, get out there, take a look at this stuff before you purchase it. Very, very neat in how this is done. Lots of little bumps, lots of little bruises, a lot of little areas to get yourself into. Now remember, this one is PC only right now. It may end up coming to console at some point here, so keep your eyes peeled. But as of right now, it is for PC and probably Mac as well. But what we're looking at here is you do have a lot of bumps. You have a lot of bruises. You have some pretty regular shaped fields. You have a couple or irregular shaped fields. Fences are going to get in your way in here. A nice little windy way to get through town. We didn't really spend too much time in town because, let's face it, the majority of time we're out in the fields, we're doing stuff out there. We don't have time to lollygag in town, catch a movie, none of that stuff. Heck no. Heck no. Guys, comment down below. Let me know, where do you want to start on this map? Would you want to go ahead and start raising some animals? Maybe you're going to cut your teeth on making some fields for yourself. Maybe you're going to jump into some forestry. Comment down below. Let me know. What do you guys think? Where do you want to jump into? Ultimately, I see you have a fairly nice variety of field sizes. Little expensive, but I think the views and the challenges are definitely going to end up being worth it. You don't want a map that's going to be so easy all the time. Give yourself a challenge, and I think this definitely will test your willpower from time to time. Guys, if you're liking what you're hearing, liking what you're seeing, go ahead and smash that like button. I would really, really appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that subscription. Holy cats, it would help out a ton. Definitely means a lot. Hit the notification bell, have it turned on and set to all, that way you know when this and other great videos are coming on out by myself. Oh boy, I can't wait till I get out here. I can't wait till I get out here. I can't wait till you get out there. Share this one with somebody who just wants to get out here rocking and rolling, wants a challenge. Share this with somebody who wants a challenge. Guys, I'm going to be challenged. And until I see you again next time, thanks for stopping by.